Hello students, it's Mr. Lane here to talk today about the attack on Pearl Harbor and how the United States of America became directly involved in World War II. So a couple things to start. First, while you watch this video, you should be taking notes on the document. As stated, we're going to kind of talk in order over some causes and some background leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor, specifically about the conflict, and as well as the consequences and the results of the attack on Pearl Harbor and what it meant for World War II. As you can see, this first quote down here, the attack on Pearl Harbor was referred to by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the time as a date which will live in infamy, December 7th, 1941. Alright, some background. So this is where you should be filling in on the causes section of your notes. So some background leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor is it's important to note that this attack was not decided by the Japanese Empire to they did not decide to attack us on December 6th of 1941. This was some planning involved, and there was definitely some sore relationship over a series of year, if not years, leading up to December 7th, 1941. So we'll first start with Japanese aggression in Asia. So as you can see here, we have the Empire of Japan, this series of islands right here, and some of its colonies, which at the time, or to start off with, was the Korea and Taiwan. But in 1931, they overtook Manchuria, and then in 1933, they moved into this area, Johor. 1937, they invade part of China, Nanjing, and Hong Kong, committing some atrocities along the way. And as you can expect, this push for resources and this aggression makes other neighboring countries feel uneasy, in particular the United States. The United States, which is currently trying to negotiate with Japan, responds by moving their entire Pacific fleet, their entire naval arsenal, to the base at Pearl Harbor in Oahu, in Hawaii. In addition, they also, in 1939, stopped trade of aircraft and parts to Japan. In July of 1941, they froze Japanese assets, so Japanese could not access their assets that may have been held by the United States or in United States entities. As well, then in August 1941, they stopped oil shipments to Japan. This, was probably the final straw, but, Japan was not happy with the United States and how its response to their aggression, And so the attack on Pearl Harbor seems inevitable at this point, because the relationship and the negotiations between Japan and the United States have kind of broken down. Japan begins making preparations to attack the United States Pacific Fleet that was stationed at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. It was a well-orchestrated attack that was practiced and rehearsed and took months, if not a year plus of planning. So at 7:55 a.m. on December 7th, 1941, a large amount of Japanese aircraft, as well as a few submersibles, submarines from the Empire of Japan, mounted an attack on the United States at the naval base at Pearl Harbor on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. This naval base and the island of Oahu was home to the entire United States Pacific Fleet, meant to defend any United States naval activities going on in the Pacific Ocean. It dealt tremendous damage to the United States fleet. in effect destroying much of it. However, some ships were only put out of commission for a short while, requiring some repairs, and able to then be rebuilt or repaired, and able to deliver vengeance in the Pacific Ocean. Some of the other consequences were that 2,300 sailors, soldiers, and even some civilians were killed. The United States Congress, as it is not the president's duty to declare war. The United States Congress acted swiftly upon a speech delivered by FDR in which he declared that the December 7th of 1941 was a date which will live in infamy. Acted very swiftly. They declared war on Japan the very next day, December 8th of 1941. As a result, Germany and Italy, fighting a separate war over in Europe, declared war on the U.S., effectively teaming up with Japan and forming the Axis powers. This meant that the U.S. was going to join the Allied powers and enter World War II, fighting one war over in the Pacific Ocean that we call the Pacific Theater, and another war over in Europe that we call the European Theater. And here's how the sides shape out currently. On December 8th, 1941, the Allied powers is now made up of Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, Canada, Australia, China, and the United States. France, which is mostly under control, however, of Germany at this time. The Axis powers, however, on the other side, is now made up of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Japan has joined up with them again to fight against the United States. Now that we've wrapped up the notes of the attack on Pearl Harbor, you should have a better understanding of the causes and the background leading to the attack, the conflict itself, and some of the consequences or results of the war and where we're at once the U.S. has joined. You have one more primary source document to study and analyze, accompanied with a few questions. Once you have completed that, you should have a more completed section of notes. Please see your teacher. They have a mapping exercise related to the events in the Pacific Theater of War. This should be completed by the end of class. As always, we hope you learned something from the history department, and we look forward to fielding your questions, and we are here to help. Thanks. Have a great day.